Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today I'm going to build this Sturmpanzer IV, or Brummbar, by Zvezda. This is a relatively cheap 15mm scale snap-together wargaming kit. The back of the box has images of the assembled but unpainted model from 3 angles. There's also information like parts count and the length of the model, which in this case is 5.9 centimeters, or a little bit over 2 inches for those who use freedom units. It also has the exploded diagram, which serves as instructions. These kits don't usually have this on the box, though it's not an unwelcome addition. Inside the box we see why the instructions are on the box. It's because there are none inside the box like there usually are. Instead, we get this note letting us know that the artoftactic.com website is no longer related to Zvezda's game Art of Tactic, and they use a .ru site now. I guess that also explains why the website on the back of the box has been crossed out. This is not a huge deal for me personally, but maybe it's relevant to somebody else. The important thing in this box are the 2 sprues, which contain enough parts to make 1 Brummbar, which is a word that I'm both probably not saying right and enjoy saying. Brummbar. Brummbar. Anyway, the plastic in this kit is what I would expect from a recent Zvezda kit in this scale, which is to say, quite good. This is a 2019 release, so it is still pretty new. You can compare this with some earlier Zvezda kits like the Panzer IV or 38T, which I built a while ago, and you can see that the detail and complexity of these kits have both increased over the years, though they are still clearly not very complex kits to build, which is fine. Simplicity of building is really kind of the point of a snap-together kit. This is clearly a gaming model, thus the simplicity of assembly. It's also in a small scale, so some detail is bound to be omitted, especially on the outside of the tracks for example. But there is still a lot of good detail here. Enough waffling, let's put this thing together. We start by attaching the single-piece track sets to the lower hull. The guide pins here make this quite easy to do, but it is possible to put them on backwards, though you will certainly notice that something isn't quite right if you do that. That's exactly how it goes, yes. Hilarious! Anyway, I apply a little pressure to make sure everything is pressed together all the way, and that's the lower hull together. Next comes the, well, it's not really the upper hull, middle hull part, gun-holdy bit, whatever you want to call it, it's very easy to put into place. Being a snap kit, the parts should stay together just fine using friction, but just to make sure, I add some glue along the contact points. I see no reason to take the model apart again, so gluing it is going to protect against the chance that it falls apart. I don't think it will, but better safe than sorry, I suppose. Next, the whole rear goes into place. This mounts to the 2 pins at the rear of the hull, unsurprisingly. The gap at the bottom here doesn't seem to want to go away, and I applied some pressure, but it wasn't totally effective. I figure it's on the bottom, so it won't be super visible, so I'm not that worried about it. The gun comes next, and it mounts into this cradle-y thing for it. I like this. There's a guide pin to help with placement, but you're still able to get a wide range of positioning here. I suppose you could leave this unglued if you wanted, so it could be movable and it should stay in place, but I glued it anyway. The casemate and hull top part comes next. Obviously you need to slot the gun through the hole in the front of the casemate, and that is probably the most challenging part of installing this, though challenge might be too strong a word. You just have to make sure the guide pins engage with their respective holes, apply pressure, and maybe some glue around where different parts contact each other, and then it's on. Next, the machine gun, which comes built into a section of frontal plate. You won't be surprised to learn that this more or less just drops right into place. I had to apply a bit of pressure with the back of my knife, because I didn't want to break the gun, but I got it there in short order. I think the machine gun looks kind of weird being so high up on the casemate, but that just makes it look a bit more interesting, in my opinion. The final step is the Scherzen. It seems to me that whoever designed this kit knew that people would probably want to paint these separately, so they're simple to put on and aren't integral to the rest of the parts at all. I've left these unglued and they will stay on with friction until it's time for painting, at which point it will be a total non-issue to pull them off, paint the model, and then glue them back into place. Very nice. And that's the 15mm scale Brummbar by Zvezda completed, and it took all of 35 seconds to do. Okay, that might be a slight exaggeration. It did actually take me about 40 minutes to do on stream, which obviously involves a bit more faffing about than I expect most modelers would do during their builds. I'm pretty happy with how this Brummbar has turned out, though there is one small issue. The gun needs to be drilled out. It's a pretty thick gun and it shouldn't be hard to do. The reason I didn't do it is because, being a clumsy oaf, I dropped my pin vise and destroyed the last drill bit. The new ones haven't arrived, so I'll just drill that out later. And I'm sure you don't need me to show you how a gun barrel is drilled out anyway, and I'm just waffling. Anyway, it's a really nice little model. It does have a good amount of detail. It is a wargaming kit, so you're not going to see extreme fine detail here. You should at least try to have realistic expectations around this kind of thing. And I would say that it's fair to say that most people do. Something I noticed is the forward 4 road wheels on each side are different. I guess they might be stronger wheels to deal with the weight of, or maybe the shock from firing the main gun. Even if that's not the reason, I think it's a nice and interesting touch. I was actually hoping to compare this model with the resonant metal Brummbar from Battlefront. I do have one somewhere, but as I mentioned on stream, I can't find it. But I feel like it probably doesn't compare favourably to this kit. Obviously, if you've been around here for a while, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of resonant metal, so that does kind of colour my perspective, and I'm not going to say that one is objectively better than the other, just I have my preferences. I would actually quite like to see a plastic version of this from Battlefront and make a comparison with that, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. Maybe one day. Anyway, I guess without showing the other model, that's not super relevant, is it? As is usually the case, I built this model on stream and a good time was had. If you want to watch me build stuff like this live, head on over to twitch.tv/Herbert_Erpaderp or use the convenient link in the description below. Give me a follow and come say hi next time I'm live. If you have any questions or comments, the place for those is the comment section below. And if you've not done so already, why not subscribe, follow, ring the bell, become a patron or YouTube member, or maybe just come say hi on Discord or Twitch. Links to all of my things are in the description below, and as always, I shall return soon. So until then, be excellent to each other, and thanks for watching. Farewell.